Alright, welcome back to JYR Trades. Today's session is on Wednesday, March 25th. So let's get right to it. Alright, so today, where did market open? Well, let's take a look here. This is London right before the open. And question is, where's price? Price is right here, okay, right around 24,440. And what I'm looking at is, where's New York Valley? That's the first thing I'm going to ask myself. And according to my settings here, New York value is down here. So we are opening outside and above New York value. Now the next question is, where are our mids? Our mids, are we inside or outside the mids? Okay, and so when you look at our mids, we have this blue line that represents the midpoints of our Asia session, and this purple one is the midpoint of our London session, and literally price is between them. Okay, so although we are opening outside of New York value, it does call for either some type of either expansion, a repair, or perhaps a continuation or a trend. However, when you look at where price also opened, which is inside the mids, that is telling us, that is giving us a key indication that price is going to more than likely rotate as well. And chances are it's going to rotate first, or rotate and then possibly make an expansion. Okay, whether it's late in the session or early in the session, that's, well, that's for us to see, right? That's for us to determine if that is going to be the case. All right, so here we go. So let's take a look at exactly what happened today with New York once it opened. Now, I will tell you guys, I am excited to share with you all today two things, because as you all know, I've been working on this program called Remitar. Okay, and the original Remitar allows me, first of all, to see where is the auction zero, where is the fair price, the fair value zero, where both buyers and sellers agree on price. And then eventually, once New York opens, after a while, it will migrate and let us know that where is the new auction zero. Now at that point, I go ahead and set up my fib to the zero on the auction zero. Now, how do I get the measurements to my fib, okay, to determine whether price goes up 25%, 50% of the actual auction? Well, I do one of two things. Okay, I actually do one thing. I measure the highest point and the lowest point between both Asia and London. And so say that right here, when I measure this here, okay, when I measure this gave me approximately 221 points. So what I do at that point is I go ahead and measure half of that, 221. All right, we're looking at about 111 points. So what I do is I look at price and I say, okay, we're looking at about 111 points. So I'll look at price. Where is currently my price here at 111 points from where I started? It's at about 24,428. And all I do is get my fib here tool, and I simply measure to about where, again, I said I was going to measure, and go from there. All right, and so I'll do that. Once I have my measurement set up in place, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know what this is here actually. I normally don't have this out here, so I don't know what's going on here. But anyways, so once I have it measured up, okay, what I do here is, excuse me. What I do here is I go ahead and put it once again. Once my Remitar has migrated, I go ahead and put it on the new auction zero. Now, this kind of helps me to determine like, if I want to do a quick scalp on this version of Remitar. What I've discovered is that normally it gives me a quick and short scalp at the beginning of price. Okay. Now here it gave me a long, and to be honest with you, normally I don't take it right away, but today was one of those days where I've been noticing already for several weeks now that when it gives me an entry, um, it usually goes it usually goes to about the 62, sometimes just the 50. Okay, it really depends. Today it went to the 75, as you can see here. And so right here, as soon as it entered, as soon as they gave me the signal, I decided to take a long. And as soon as it started, I decided to put a take profit at the 50, I think it was, right away. And within a 1 minute, within less than a minute actually, it took the profit. Okay, actually a little bit more than a minute. Okay, but yeah, it was a quick one. But I'm really more excited about the other versions that I've been working with Remitar. I worked on Remitar version 2 and 2.1, the clean build, post migration overstretch filter, and the clean build 2.1. Now, first I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what version 2.0 is doing. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and for now, uh, what is it called? I'm going to go ahead and just, remove 2.1 from the chart here. All right, so here when price opened up, so once price started, what I saw here is that once it hit this, 75, price started coming back down. Now, version 2.0 are these three bands that you see here. All right, this green, white, and uh, red one here. This other kind of like pinkish, this is my BWAP, by the way. Okay, and so what I notice here is that these EMAs here, okay, uh, once when price is in when price is opening up in New York and it's in between these three bands, it's a no trade zone for me. But what I've noticed is once it gets out and it starts coming back in, this is where you would enter. This is where I would enter. And today I did enter somewhere around here. I decided to target just a simple white line, and I think it was approximately a little bit less than 40 points. It was, and yeah, so it was about 40 points more or less. Okay, but in reality, the system, what I've noticed here is that, and it's only been the third day that I've been working with Remitar 2.0, but I notice it has been consistent when hitting the other side. Okay, and then eventually on rotational days, which we know it's about 85% of the days in the year. Okay, eventually price will come back in. Okay, I've noticed that it'll try to come back in, kind of rejects, and then eventually comes back in. So I started working again on Remitar version 2.1 to determine when do we really try to come back in. Okay, and on Remitar version 2.1, and I gotta admit, when I first saw this in the morning, because I just worked on this last night, um, it looked messy at first, right, when I first saw it. But as I was trading it live, as I was looking at it, it became clear to me. It became clear to me where um, it was showing, uh, where it was showing that it was a good trade. Where was the sniper entry? And so there's one of two ways here. One, like I said, here I felt comfortable going in um, because I felt like it was going to give us a rotation. Remember, the market likes to give, particular Nasdaq likes to rotate or balance itself out before it actually makes some type of expansion. Okay, and if you look again at where price started, it started in between the mids, so that's telling us that it was going to balance or rotate initially first. Okay, and so once price started coming in here, and on Remitar version 2.1, we see this red line here. Price was beginning to go into the white one. That is our entry, you can say. Now our safer entry would have been closer to this green line over here. However, that's already also getting kind of close to the white line. So I mean, you could still target the green. Now, on the other side, once price was hovering, or you can say compressing, because it started to compress here quite heavily, okay? Well, where do we determine when it's actually not gonna like come back in and come back out? If you look at my Remitar 2.1 version right here, you can see these EMAs here. And once again, once price came below the green line here, okay, it was all go. And what you will notice is that market did a somewhat of an expansion or repair move. Why? Because we notice the white lines. Again, that's New York value from the previous day. What did it do? It tried to repair. Did it find new value inside here? No, it did not. Reject it. Once it rejected, where did price come back in? Well, again, um, once we started to see that there was movement going back into this red EMA here, you can see clearly that price was starting to go back in into Remitar 2.0. Okay, and what did we target? We targeted, from what I can see here, again, and I'm going to remove this one here for now. Targeted this center line here. This kind of reminds me of the standard deviation bands on VWAP a little bit here, this system, but like I said, I coded this here personally myself, and so it's a little different. Okay, but the other thing that I love about this particular one here is that once New York PM starts, the bands kind of go flat. And for some reason on rotational days, it makes it even easier to trade, because you'll notice once again here that once price started, okay, New York PM, and it went back into our Remitar area, you can see that price went through it, went through the white line, kind of came back, a little pullback, okay, almost back to our, you can say, our entry area, but then it went to the green line once again. And after that, after the green line, you could say, hey, let's target once again at least the white line, okay, which is on par right here with my VWAP. But eventually, price came back down all the way down to the red once again, and it ended up being a rotational day. Okay, so we had somewhat of a rotational day in the beginning, and then we had a bit of an expansion or try to repair, a partial repair back into value. It rejected, and after that, it was just a somewhat of a rotational day. Okay, it was a rotational balance day early on. Okay, I mean, you can see that price pretty much stayed inside the zones. The EMAs were were flat, obviously, uh, and by design they work like that in New York PM. It was chopping between the levels. Okay, there was no clean continuation. In other words, it wasn't coming outside of these areas right here. Okay, so in the midday, again, price did leave the range, a little bit here, but it, like I said, it tried to repair, came back on. This ended up being a controlled expansion. This was controlled. It wasn't explosive. All right, it wasn't a trend. In other words, if it was a trend, it would have continued past this. It hit the point of control. This is the point of control for New York value from yesterday. But you can see that, I mean, once it hit that point of control, it started coming back up. That was a rejection. And that's a clear indication that we're going to go back to the range. And this is where Remitar, for me, it's really shining. It's really shining because it's giving me almost like a footprint, what to expect, what to see again. We know that rotational days are about 85% of the days of the year in the market. 15% is where we have some trend days, we have some expansion days, but for the most part, 85% of the days of the year, from what I understand, we're going to have some type of balance or rotational. And even then, we understand that the market is not going to show us just rotational all day or all session. It may have rotational in the beginning, and then it might expand, or it may trend, right? Or it may at first try to repair, right? And then it will go eventually rotate. Or it may, do a combination of things. So that's where, you know, tools like Remitar are definitely helping to kind of see that blueprint a little bit better. Okay, but overall, again, Remitar 2.0, it showed me here in the afternoon the range. If I turn on Remitar 2.10, again, going back to here, I think I had a couple of entries that were, they were just like they were there. And right here, like I said, when price was approaching here, and we see our EMAs lining up, this was an entry here, right? And we could have targeted once again. At this point I could have targeted the green line or even just the auction zero itself. Okay, now you'll notice also the box here. I got the 120 box. This is the liquidity box. The Nasdaq likes to likes to range within that box. It's not going to perfectly range all the time within that box. Today, as you can see, it was at first in AM, it was close to the top, and then it went out of it, but then it came back into it, but it didn't go all the way to the top. So here again, I would have targeted, could have targeted just the auction zero, somewhere close to it, and it would have hit it. Now that trade there was good. Another one that could have been good based on Remitar is once it tagged here, again, target the other side of the band, which is the red line here. Okay, that would have been a good one there. Now the other one, well, if you want to say, well, how do you know it's not going to come back out? Again, on Remitar 2.1 right here, once price got well under, okay, under the EMAs from 2.1, we could have targeted right here this particular one. All right, that would have been a good one there as well. Okay, but yeah, this is just day 3 of, or day 2 of Remitar version 2, and day 1 of Remitar 2.1. And I can say that one of the things that it allowed me to do when I'm seeing this is that first I didn't overtrade. I took 2 trades, I was in, I was out. I took my setups, I let the market show me on what it wanted to do, and I'm starting to feel the system more, not just see it. Okay, and again, this is only day 3, but I can already see how the system can help build consistency with just a little bit of extra patience. Okay, so again, what type of day was this, guys? Well, this was a rotational morning transitioning into a controlled expansion in the afternoon. Okay, that's the professional level language there, that I can give you that I can tell you what this day was. Again, we're looking at a controlled expansion, a rotational morning. All right, and then kind of transitioning into a controlled expansion here in the afternoon. Why do I say it was a controlled expansion? Well, once again, price kind of went out of the range that Remitar was showing me here. All right, but it was somewhat controlled. In other words, it wasn't trending fully. It would get out, and then it would eventually would come back in. But overall, like I said, today was a great day. It was a great day to learn. Again, it seems to me more that the market, you see it, the more you are patient with it, the more it's going to show you its hand. And every day you'll start to catch on more and more, more and more, more and more. And so, with that said, hopefully this video has helped you in your own journey. Okay, once again, I do believe that together we can learn a little bit more each day. If you found this content educational and helpful, subscribe, like, share, and comments. Okay, remember again, all this content is for educational purposes to help you on your journey. It's not financial advice. But once again, we hope to see you on the next one.